Hello everyone. In this video, I will be introducing you to the core breath. This breathing practice is a restorative exercise that gets your inner core functioning optimally, which will help you avoid injury, relieve pain, reduce stress, and increase your sense of body awareness. In addition, it's going to help prevent dysfunction such as incontinence and prolapse. In this video, you will be learning what the true core really is, why our posture or body alignment is important, and that the first step in any core training program is paying attention to how you breathe. You can perform this exercise seated or lying down. So take a moment and consider how you might like to practice this. Lying on your back will help you relax or release unnecessary tension. But before you begin, I want you to take a look at the screen because I want to show you what the true core really is. Your true core is a group of 4 muscles that function together as a team. They ensure proper alignment and control and prepare us for and anticipate any movement. However, when one or more of these muscles doesn't function as it should, dysfunction can occur, such as chronic back pain, incontinence, and prolapse. Notice that your core has a top, a bottom, a front, sides, and back. Your core is a contained unit. The top of the core is your diaphragm, and it sits up under your rib cage. Every time you breathe in, that diaphragm lowers or flattens. It draws air into the lungs, the ribs expand, and as you breathe out, that diaphragm, it actually kind of recoils back up and helps to push the air out of the lungs, and the ribs return to normal. The bottom of your core is a group of muscles called the pelvic floor. They attach your 2 sitting bones to each other, and if you're seated on a hard surface like I am right now, you can feel your 2 sitting bones more. So pelvic floor muscles attach your 2 sitting bones to each other. They also attach the pubic bone at the front of the body to the tailbone at the back of the body. They function like a hammock. They help to stabilize the pelvis, the hips, and the spine, and support our internal organs like the bladder, the rectum, and the uterus in women. The front, sides, and back of the core are a deep abdominal muscle group called the transversus abdominis. Now, it's the job of the transversus abdominis to stabilize our spine. They also support our internal organs, and they're responsible for a forced exhale of air, just like when you blow out a candle. If you do that, you can feel the tensioning, the automatic tensioning of your deep abdominals. The back of your core is a group of spinal muscles called the multifidus, and the job of the multifidus is to keep the spine in a good alignment. So we need to be able to find our ideal alignment for optimal function. So let's practice the breath. First of all, I want you to choose a position. You're either going to remain seated or lie down on your ground. But just before you lie down, I want you to have perhaps a towel or small pillow handy, just so you can put it under your head if you feel there's some neck tension as you're lying down. We're all going to start with some gentle pelvic rocking. If you're still seated, I want you to come to the edge of your chair so that your 2 sit bones, you can feel them flatten the ground. Your legs will be uncrossed, and your feet and your knees are about the width of your hips. If you're lying down on your back, I want you to feel your tailbone is in line with the top of your head, and I just want you to take a moment to have your knees bent and your feet flatten the ground. And if you feel a lot of strain in your hips or your low back, you could gently let your knees rest against each other if you're lying on your back. We're both going to take a moment and let our pelvis tip back and forth. If you're seated, you're going to place your hands on the tops of your hips, just like when you want to get someone's attention. I'm just going to turn sideways for you, and so you're going to notice what happens. We're going to notice that our pelvis can gently rock forward and back on our sitting bones. If you're lying on your back, you're going to take a moment and place your hands, the heels of your hands, on your hip bones, and allow your fingers to point towards your pubic bone. And as you tip your pelvis forward and back, and as everyone tips their pelvis forward and back, I want you just to notice what happens to the curves of your spine. When your pelvis tips back, your low back will be flatter. And when your pelvis tips forward, there'll be more of a curve. So one more time, when your pelvis tips back, if you're lying on the ground, you're going to feel your back flatten toward the mat. And again, when your pelvis tips forward, there's more of a curve. If you're seated, I want you to notice how you're moving on your 2 sitting bones as you tip your pelvis forward or back. Notice you're moving forward and back on them. You're going to work to find a position where you're seated just right on your 2 sitting bones. That's your ideal alignment. You're not too far forward, you're not too far back. From the side, you want to feel that your ears are in line over your shoulders and your shoulders are over your hips. If you're lying on your back, I want you to feel that your hip bones and pubic bone rest in the same plane. So notice when you tip your pelvis forward or back, that alignment changes. When you're in your ideal alignment or neutral pelvis position, if you thought about putting a carpenter's level across those 3 points, 2 hip bones and pubic bone, they would rest in the same plane. From here, we found our ideal alignment. We're going to learn how to direct the breath for optimal work. I want you to take now your hands on your side ribs, and I want you to start to take a nice deep breath in and direct the breath into the sides and backs of the ribs. As you blow the air out, we're just going to breathe out through the mouth and just blow all the air out for now. You're going to breathe in through the nose, feel that you're expanding your side ribs, and just allow the air just to gently blow out through the mouth. Now what I want you to realize is that our lungs, the lower lobes of the lungs, are located in the sides and back of the rib cage. So we're working to optimize that breath. As you start to breathe, I want you to start to think more about that candle breath now, that forced exhale of air. So as we start to breathe out, I want you to pretend to blow out a candle and feel that automatic tensioning of your abdominals. On an inhale, we just gently let it go. So as we exhale, we're feeling that automatic tensioning of our abdominals. And on an inhale, as we allow the ribs to expand, that abdominal wall has to expand a little bit. Now I want you to direct your attention to the area between your 2 sitting bones. If you're seated, it might be a little easier to think about this. And I want you to imagine you're seated on a few beans. They could be kidney beans or they could even be blueberries. Now on an exhale, I want you to envision you could lift the beans. And on an inhale, you can just let them go. So we're now starting to direct the muscles of the pelvic floor. On an exhale, feel there's a central lift. But on an inhale, we're just learning to let go. As we exhale, we're blowing the air out, feeling the abdominals tension, the pelvic floor lift. But on an inhale, think about breathing wide into the side ribs and just gently releasing the core. One more time. As you exhale, feel there's a central lift of support, the waist narrows. And on an inhale, just letting it go. So how did you make out? This way of breathing may seem counterintuitive to many of you. And I want to let you know that I have had 15 years experience teaching people how to breathe to activate their core optimally. And it's truly like learning a new language or musical instrument. You have to start with the basics and build upon them. And you're learning a basic breath that will help you train your core optimally. And practice is the key. And there are many benefits associated with this restorative breath practice, such as reduced stress, improved lung capacity, better sleep, and it's also your first step in resolving issues such as chronic back pain, incontinence, and prolapse. So try to practice this a few times a day. Take a moment, find your ideal alignment, and try to keep the neck and shoulders relaxed. You can find a printed version of this breath practice on my website under Health Tips, or simply watch this video again. Remember, your first step in retraining your core begins with the breath, and this breathing practice will help your inner core function optimally. Thanks for watching.